Mamdani is the face of the Democrats on the East Coast, and Katie Porter is the face on the West Coast. I don't know if that's great politically for that party.
New York is New York. It's definitely it's the media capital, the financial capital. It is a bellwether like no other city is in this country. So don't tell me that who the mayor of New York is doesn't matter.
Maher has taken the gloves off and is coming straight at Mayor Manny, and it's brutal. Long before voters ever put Manny in office, Maher was already sounding the warning sirens, predicting serious trouble ahead. Now that Manny has officially taken power, the comedian is done holding back. He's tearing into the mayor's ideas one by one, using sharp wit and unapologetic sarcasm to expose what he sees as reckless leadership. This isn't a mild critique or playful jab, it's an all-out takedown of a city government drifting into extremes. So make sure you're subscribed, because we're jumping headfirst into the madness.
You let the Democrats, socialists, and now they're actually calling themselves socialists. When you let them take over a major American city, this is what you get.
To start with, it's important to challenge Maher's suggestion that Republicans are hostile to free speech or democratic values. That claim doesn't hold up. In reality, Republicans are often the ones pushing back against censorship, opposing cancel culture, and defending the right to express unpopular or dissenting opinions. They've consistently positioned themselves as advocates for open debate and individual freedoms, the very principles Maher accuses them of rejecting. That said, Maher does land a solid point when he turns his focus to Mayor Mamdani and his ideological direction. Mamdani's policies clearly lean toward a socialist framework, and that shift raises serious concerns. Increased taxation, expanded government control, and reduced economic freedom could put New York's long-term stability at risk. A move in that direction threatens the factors that have historically driven the city's growth, innovation, and global appeal. In this area, Maher's criticism is direct, relevant, and difficult to ignore.
It seems to me that there are two pillars that this country is founded on. One is democracy, and one is capitalism, free markets. And it seems like one party wants to get rid of one, and the other party wants to get rid of the other. Right? The Republicans are not democracy is just not number one on their list. It just isn't. It isn't. It's behind Christianity and a few other things. And the Democrats, I mean, I read these 74%, are for democratic socialism. Only 16% favor capitalism. Is this going to be a country that I don't recognize in 5 to 10 years if we don't have these two pillars? If we don't, I mean, where are the Democrats going?
Interview 3. No, Bill Maher, things are clearly not heading in a positive direction for the DNC. Allowing activist-driven ideology to dominate decision-making isn't a path to electoral success, it's a recipe for internal collapse. Over recent years, the party has leaned heavily into identity-based politics, rigid social narratives, and aggressive progressive positions, and the consequences are becoming impossible to ignore. Rather than building a coalition that speaks to a wide range of Americans, Democrats are narrowing their appeal by prioritizing ideological purity over practicality. The emphasis on virtue signaling instead of real-world solutions has alienated moderates, independents, and even many loyal voters who once felt represented by the party. Swing voters aren't looking for lectures or labels, they want stability, competence, and leadership that delivers tangible results. Unless the party makes a meaningful shift in direction, it risks isolating itself inside a political bubble, praised by a small, vocal base while increasingly rejected by the broader electorate.
Mamdani is the face of the Democrats on the East Coast, and Katie Porter is the face on the West Coast. I don't know if that's great politically for...
Maher doesn't mince words when it comes to criticizing the Democrats for backing Manny, and in his view, the criticism is fully justified. He sees the decision as a massive strategic error, one that could practically gift the next election to Republicans. Manny's far-left, socialist-leaning platform makes him an easy political target, and Maher argues that the GOP wouldn't need an aggressive campaign to take advantage of it. Simply spotlighting Manny's most extreme positions could trigger a swift and damaging backlash. From Maher's perspective, this goes beyond political gamesmanship, it's about basic common sense. By putting forward such a deeply polarizing figure, Democrats have effectively handed their opponents a ready-made narrative. Every controversial proposal, every radical soundbite, and every misstep becomes ammunition for the other side. Rather than reaching out to moderate and undecided voters, the party has narrowed its appeal and ceded control of the conversation. Maher's warning is blunt and unmistakable. This isn't just a risky move, it's a self-inflicted wound that could cost Democrats dearly when voters head to the polls.
New York. It's definitely it's the media capital, the financial capital. It is a bellwether like no other city is in this country. So don't tell me that who the mayor of New York is doesn't matter.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second. Do you think, let's say, on the seize the means of production, do you think that the mayor, that one person, if he is a democratic socialist, do you think that he would have the power and influence to be able to usher in socialism?
He definitely has the power and influence to elect J.D. Vance or whoever is the Republican candidate next time. It is a walking commercial for the Republican Party.
On paper, the idea sounds appealing: equality, shared wealth, and government-managed services for everyone. But in practice, these systems often struggle. State-run programs, whether grocery stores or other essential services, frequently fail to meet demand, leading to shortages, inefficiency, and poor service. Production slows, innovation fades, and ordinary people end up paying the price for a system that looks good in theory but collapses in reality. Despite these well-documented lessons from history, the DNC appears unwilling to acknowledge the warning signs. Instead, it continues flirting with socialist-style policies, ignoring the real-world failures that have followed similar experiments across the globe. The result is a set of policies that sound compassionate and promising but often deliver confusion, frustration, and disillusionment on the ground. Socialism may sell well as an idea, but time and again, its execution falls short.
And now they're actually calling themselves socialists. When you let them take over a major American city, this is what you get. The state-run grocery stores, which work so well in Cuba and the Soviet Union and Venezuela, just bad ideas. And again, this ugly streak, streak of anti-Semitism.
Maher argues that Republicans wouldn't even need to spin a narrative to demonize Mamdani, he would do it himself. According to Maher, there would be no need for exaggeration because the policies alone would become the story. Mamdani's push for higher taxes and expanded state-run programs is exactly the kind of agenda that makes voters uneasy, especially those who value economic freedom, efficiency, and limited government. While these ideas may resonate with a small segment of the electorate, they are far more likely to alienate moderates, independents, and even a portion of Democratic voters. In effect, Mamdani's own platform creates the perfect political boogeyman. The GOP wouldn't have to overreach or distort the message, his proposals would generate backlash on their own, and public reaction would take care of the rest. From Maher's perspective, this kind of self-inflicted vulnerability amounts to political malpractice. It risks handing Democrats a serious setback in upcoming elections and serves as a textbook example of how ideology, when pushed too far, can quickly turn into a liability.
Politician on the left.
AOC? I don't know.
One of, but who's Bernie? Bernie is
yeah.
Bernie is. I mean, he's not a capitalist.
No, he's not, and he's also not president.
He's not. But
never would be.
But neither is Mamdani.
No, but he will. Trust me, he will be featured in the campaign commercials.
But they're going to feature people. They boogeyman everybody.
Yeah, but you don't have to boogeyman him. He does it to himself.
But they'll do it regardless. Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, but
they make anybody as boogeyman.
It has.
I think it was
just have more weight when it's.
That now appears to be Mani's go-to line of defense, asking his constituents to simply trust him and assuring them that this time, socialism will be different. According to Mani, the failures of past socialist regimes don't apply to him. He claims to be smarter, more disciplined, and somehow immune to the mistakes that devastated economies elsewhere. It's a familiar promise, one voters have heard before from leaders who were just as confident and just as wrong. The issue isn't a lack of confidence, it's history. Socialist systems don't collapse because of bad intentions. They fail because of broken incentives, bloated bureaucracies, and excessive government control. Yet Mani is asking New Yorkers to believe he has cracked a code that no one else in the world ever has. For skeptics, that argument doesn't inspire confidence, it raises red flags. Trust, after all, is not a policy, and blind faith is not a plan.
Need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can crack it up again. Socialist slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess.
Historically, socialist systems have struggled with chronic resource mismanagement, and the consequences are almost always the same. Instead of producing fairness or prosperity, centralized control tends to breed inefficiency, waste, and widespread frustration among the population. When governments take over production and distribution, decision-making becomes buried under layers of bureaucracy. Everything slows down. Productivity drops. Innovation fades. And more often than not, the promise of equal sharing never becomes reality. Resources don't spread evenly, they rise upward, concentrating in the hands of a small political elite or ruling class, while ordinary citizens are left scrambling for whatever remains. Shortages become routine. Quality deteriorates. Accountability disappears. The people who were promised abundance end up standing in lines, dealing with rationing, or turning to black markets just to survive. This pattern repeats itself across history, regardless of the country, culture, or leadership involved. The ideology sells equality, but the reality delivers inequality of the worst kind, one where power, not effort or merit, determines who thrives and who struggles.
When the post-war Labour government in Britain was about to get started, one of their leading lights was a socialist named Nurian Bevan. He said, what could go wrong? He said, we have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish. It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either. In 3 years, they had a shortage of both.
Maher is increasingly alarmed by the accelerating exodus from blue states to red states, a shift driven less by partisan politics and more by economic pressure and growing insecurity. According to him, people aren't packing up simply because of ideology. They're leaving because everyday life in many blue states has become more expensive, less stable, and harder to navigate. Rising crime, widespread homelessness, and deteriorating public safety have pushed families and working professionals to search for places that offer predictability and security. At the same time, businesses are fleeing states like California and New York, where the cost of operating has become almost unsustainable. Heavy regulation, soaring overhead, and aggressive taxation have made it increasingly difficult for companies to survive, let alone grow. Even high-income earners are choosing to leave, especially as tax policies continue to target wealthier residents to fund expanding government programs. Maher's concern is straightforward and serious. When residents, businesses, and capital all begin exiting at the same time, it's no longer a coincidence. It's a warning sign of deeper structural issues, problems that can't be ignored forever without consequences.
This election will lead more financial organizations to leave New York City for Wall Street South in Florida. Tell me, I've read that term just recently, Wall Street South, Florida. This is your state. What is that?
A lot of Wall Street guys have moved to Palm Beach. It's been happening really since COVID. It's accelerated with increases in taxes. It's not just out of New York. It's New Jersey, Connecticut, it's Chicago, it's California.
So they're fleeing high-tax blue states.
Correct.
In the end, Maher's warning cuts through all the noise. This isn't about personalities or party drama. It's about consequences. When ideology starts overriding common sense, voters don't argue. Businesses don't negotiate. Capital doesn't protest. They leave. The Democrats' growing flirtation with socialism, embodied by figures like Mamdani, risks accelerating the very problems already pushing people out. High taxes, expanding state control, and vague promises of "trust me, it'll be different this time" come with a long historical track record, and it isn't a good one. These experiments consistently produce mismanagement, inequality, and public frustration, not prosperity. Maher understands the political danger clearly. By embracing radical policies, the DNC isn't energizing the political middle. It's alienating it. And Republicans won't need scare tactics or exaggeration to respond. The policies will speak for themselves. If the party refuses to course correct, it may soon find itself watching elections slip away, not because of bad messaging, but because voters finally decided they've had enough. And on that note, we bring the curtain down on today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.